Welcome back to Paring Down, everyone. This is a good stuff episode because we declutter and pare down our lives, which is what we talk primarily about on Tuesdays. But we do that in order to make room for the good stuff in our lives, which is what we talk about on Wednesdays. So you are here on a good stuff episode, and I'm so happy you are because we're continuing our series on one of the biggest pieces of good stuff in our life, which is joy. Today, I wanted to touch on something that I feel like flies under the radar when it comes to experiencing joy in life, and we need to take way more advantage of it. And that little secret is anticipation. We often think of joy as the moment of joy itself, whether it's hanging out with people we love or going on some big adventure or whatever joyful moment we're experiencing or talking about. But we miss the piece that the anticipation of something is a big part of what makes something a wonderful experience, and that provides joy in our lives that extends the joy. So we're going to get into that. But today we're talking about anticipation. I think all of us know what it means to anticipate something, but basically it's just that state of looking forward to a future event. And important to note, the pleasure of looking forward to it. As Catherine Center mentioned on her episode a couple of weeks ago about the power of joy-filled stories, she was talking about negatively valenced anticipation versus positively valenced anticipation. When we're talking about romances, when we know there's going to be a happy ending between the couple, that's positively valenced anticipation. We know that the outcome is going to be good, and we're anticipating and looking forward to that outcome. That's the kind of anticipation we're talking about today, positively valenced. And there are three big reasons that I could think of why anticipation really fuels our joy and brings so much more of it into our lives. So let's start there. The first big one is that from a psychological perspective, it actually lights up our brain with dopamine. So many scientists actually call dopamine the anticipation molecule. We think that we get a dopamine hit when we buy something new, but that's not actually what the dopamine piece is. It's not putting on the new sweater. The dopamine is anticipating how you're going to feel once you put on that new sweater, which is why when we buy things, it's so exciting. And then when they sit in our closet a week later, we're not that excited about it. Or even by the time it arrives in our house, we're not that excited about it, unless we're anticipating and get the dopamine hit of opening the box and taking the new thing out. That's the fun part. That's the dopamine. Actually using, wearing, having this stuff is not as exciting. So anticipation, it activates our reward system and gives us that hit of dopamine, which is a great thing. We want to feel good. We're talking about joy here. And we need to realize that the lead up to something good is actually even more rewarding than the good thing itself. That is not a depressing thought. I think some people think, oh man, that's so sad that like vacation's never going to be as amazing as anticipating it, or our purchases will never be as amazing as anticipating them, or all the things we look forward to are never going to live up. That's not the spirit. Of course, we enjoy moments in the moment, but why not take advantage of the very real biological state that allows us to experience joy before something even happens? I think that's pretty cool, and we should harness it. So that's the first reason that anticipation fuels joy, is that it literally makes us feel good with that dopamine. The second is that it extends and it amplifies the positive event. So if you're looking forward to a vacation, not only do you get to enjoy the vacation, you get to enjoy the planning process and thinking about what it's going to be like and imagining yourself there, right? That extends the joy you're getting from the experience. It also amplifies the joy. In a study done by Leif van Boven and Thomas Gilovich, published in the journal called Psychological Science in 2003, found that people enjoy thinking about the experience days or weeks in advance, end up feeling that the experience is bigger and more meaningful. So surprises are great. Yes, you want to surprise your kids with some trip. That's fine. But don't miss out on the benefits of anticipating. Surprises aren't always the best way to go. Sometimes it's cool for kids and us to be able to look forward to something because it makes the event feel even bigger, and it also, of course, extends it. We get to experience the excitement around it a lot longer. So we've taken the approach that, like when we took our kids to Disney World and that kind of thing, we actually didn't make it a surprise. I'm not saying that that's wrong. Obviously, you know your own kids, your own family, what makes you happy. There's so much individuality here. But I think we overlook that anticipation can be a really great thing. I mean, let's talk about Christmas. Why is Christmas so fun? Because we're anticipating it the whole month of December and sometimes November or even October, especially as kids, they're anticipating that morning run down the stairs, look under the tree, right? It's fun to anticipate it with the movies and the songs and all of that. Yes, we're experiencing the Christmas season in the moment, but a lot of it is leading up to the big Christmas morning or leading up to the big Christmas dinner with your family, whatever your favorite moment, especially in adulthood, that can change, right? But whatever your favorite moment of Christmas is, that's what we're anticipating. And that's what a lot of the joy is wrapped up in. So let's extend and amplify these positive experiences and our positive emotions. And the third reason that anticipation fuels our joy is that it gives structure and hope to everyday life. If we never had anything to look forward to, wouldn't we all just be a little bit sad? This is not only just logically makes sense. I think we all know this from our own lives, but it, of course, is backed up in psychology. Psychologist Martin Seligman, who I have brought up on the podcast before and told you I don't know how to say this particular psychologist's last name, but I'm just going with Seligman. Anyway, his work shows that future-oriented thinking, in other words, having something to look forward to, is strongly tied to optimism and well-being. Of course it is, because we have hope. We are optimistic that something good is going to happen in the future. And the more we can create these moments of anticipation in our lives, then the more we just feel like good things are to come. And that's how we start viewing everything. I feel like this is really true in my life, especially as a military wife. I feel like there's always future-oriented thinking involved. I mean, as you know, I'm moving to Finland and we move every couple years. So of course there's that like massive case of forward thinking, but I also look forward to discovering new things, because even living somewhere for 1 year, like here in Kodiak, or 3 years, which is our usual amount of time that we're somewhere, there's always something new to discover. And I anticipate and get excited about what's to come. Like if we were staying here, my son would get to go to Camp Woody, which is his first overnight camp. Like it's just fun. And I feel like it helps create a certain sense of optimism in me, because I'm always uncovering new stuff just by the way that my life is set up. And I'm very grateful for that. This sense of forward momentum in our lives buffers against stress and against burnout and emotional flatness. You don't wake up and think, oh, where has all the time gone? What have I been doing with my life? When you have things to anticipate, it means that you're consistently living intentionally, which is what we talk about on this podcast all the time. You're thinking about the future. You're designing your future to have something to look forward to. And so it gets us out of the stress of our daily lives and into this mindset that like we have a sense of agency over our futures and we're excited about the future. And I'm going to get into some pitfalls. Actually, we can dive right into those right now, because there are some traps here. And a big one that just makes a lot of sense based on what I just said is we don't want to live only for the future. That's the first trap. Anticipation should enhance the present, not replace it. We don't want to think I'll be happy when ... That goes against the contentment that I'm always sharing about here, being content in your daily life so that you're not over consuming, filling your life with clutter, be it physical clutter inside of your house, clutter on your schedules. That can come from a sense of discontent. That's not the idea here. We don't want to miss the joy that is available right now in our lives that maybe we used to anticipate. I mean, we see this, little encouraging, inspirational quote or meme or whatever on Instagram all the time. At least I do, is don't forget to enjoy the blessings that you're living right now that you used to wish for. Something like that. But isn't that so true? For me, I look back like most of my 20s, boy, was I anticipating finding the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I wanted to fall in love and get married. That was just always on my heart. I know all of us are built differently, but that was just a big deal to me. And it's not that I take my husband for granted at all, but that anticipation of falling in love and finding my person was a big deal. And how often do we have these big anticipatory feelings and then we forget to enjoy the fact that we actually got what we anticipated? This can go for kids, a job, a relationship, friendships, a home, a house where we live, a neighborhood, anything in your life that you can be grateful for, you probably wished for at one point in your past. And so this puts us into a state of gratitude, right? So we want to anticipate our future. We want to have things to look forward to and create hope in our lives by designing a future. And I'm going to share more. I'm going to share 10 things that we can create to increase anticipation in our lives. But we want to do so with gratitude for the present in mind, because most of the things that we have to be grateful for are things that we used to anticipate. The second trap that might sabotage our anticipation is over planning. So you might be listening to this and being like, great, I'm going to plan all these things for the future so that I have a bunch of stuff to look forward to, which fine, but we don't want to overdo it, because then we're just going to burn ourselves out and it's not going to be as great. And it's kind of falling back into the first trap, which is you're just living for the future. But this over planning means that every moment's going to be scheduled and you're going to lose the spontaneity that makes life fun and enjoyable. The ability to actually savor whatever you've planned, because you're going to have to get on to the next thing. Over planning just stresses us out, leaves no margin in our lives. So that can definitely be a trap of intentional anticipation. And then the third one, this is a big one, is unmet expectations. I just have to warn everyone about that. I feel like the number one reason we end up not enjoying what we anticipated is because our expectations were not met. And there's a fine line, like there's a balance you have to have here of planning and looking forward to something and dreaming about what it will look like, all of that anticipation, which is a good thing, and then letting the moment unfold once it has arrived, how it's going to unfold. An example that comes to my mind is a wedding. I think about my own wedding day, how much I anticipated it, how I was so excited for it, but I also knew not all of it was going to unfold how I imagined it in my head. And I forced myself ahead of time to be prepared for that. And I'm so glad that I mentally prepared for that, because our string quartet played the wrong song when I was walking down the aisle. But looking back now, I love it. It ended up being a great moment. What else? Gosh, my husband's shoes. So he wore his whites. He's in the military. And so they have, their fancy white uniform. He hadn't worn it in so long, but he was like, I have all the pieces. It's fine. Well, his shoes literally disintegrated because he hadn't worn his whites since he had graduated college when he was 21, right? Like leaving the Coast Guard Academy. And we got married when he was 31. So it had been a full decade. And the soles of his shoes as he was walking, it was hilarious. He was leaving this trail of like white powder behind him until his soles, by the time we got to the reception, were actually gone. He had no shoes to wear. So he had to end up borrowing shoes from one of the guys that was his buddies in whites. They did the sword thing. I don't know if you are familiar with military weddings. There's a tradition where other military service men and women use their big swords, and you have to like cross through the sword gate thing that they make by kissing, the bride and groom kissing, and then they open the swords and you can go through. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And so we had some of his buddies there doing that. And so one of the guys is a half a size shoe. I think he was a half size smaller than my husband. And so my husband took his shoes, and then that guy was like, I'm just going to go home and change. So it worked out. But, there are things that just don't go to plan. And so that kind of set us back with our pictures. And so we got to the reception later than we wanted to. And things happen, and we just have to manage our expectations to know that life isn't going to be perfect, that we're going to plan the vacation and it might rain, that we're going to plan the dinner with our friends and then they might have to cancel, that we can't wait to take our kids to the zoo and then they're going to complain the whole time that they're too hot. We have to manage those expectations. Even with my anticipation for this big move to Finland, which obviously I am so excited about, I'm also prepared that it's not going to be smooth sailing. And those two things can exist at the same time. I can be really, really, really excited, and I can mentally prepare for the fact that there are going to be hardships, especially during the transition. I've done enough moves and enough transitions as a military wife to know that there are going to be challenges and things that just don't go the way that are planned. But on the flip side, there are going to be so many beautiful things that happen that I never could have planned for. We are going to meet people in the most unexpected ways. We are going to stumble across adventure that I never knew existed. That's the beauty of anticipation, is looking forward to something, but then leaving room for the realities of life, both the good and the bad. Okay, so we talked about the 3 reasons that anticipation fuels our joy. The first is that it lights up our brain, gives us some dopamine. The second is that it extends and amplifies the experience itself. The third is that it gives us hope for our future, which carries us with forward momentum and joy throughout our lives. But then we have our 3 traps I just talked about. The first being that we don't want to only live for the future. The second being we don't want to overplan our lives, so we exhaust ourselves. And the third is that we don't want our expectations to let us down. But now I do want to share some practical ideas so you can bring more anticipation into your life. Let's live intentionally. Let's purposefully create things in our lives to look forward to, not only for that event itself, but for the anticipation joy we get to experience leading up to it, which just sprinkles and spreads itself throughout all of our days, allowing us to live in a more joyful state on a regular basis. The ones I'm going to share that I came up with are pretty easy to plan, for the record. Some of them might be bigger, like a vacation or something, but they're easy to plan. They're pretty repeatable. So these are things you can do regularly. And hopefully you find them to be emotionally rich in the sense that we're not just anticipating buying a car or buying a dress, right? I'm talking about things that actually fuel important pieces of our lives that also fuel our joy in and of themselves. Relationships, awe and wonder, movement, a lot of which I've covered on these episodes in this Good Stuff series on joy. So the first thing you can create to anticipate in your life is a weekly glimmer ritual. I'm calling it a glimmer ritual because glimmers are those little moments of sparkly joy in our lives when we notice something small around us that is just absolutely amazing and happy. It can be your child's laugh. It can be looking at the snow on top of a mountain. It can be someone smiling at you as they open a door. Those are glimmers in life. So we want to create a glimmer ritual where we can look forward to noticing something small that makes us really happy. This might look like every Sunday morning you wake up and immediately go on a walk, maybe with your spouse. Or every Friday night you get takeout with your family and watch a movie. That's a glimmer ritual. We're looking around at our family, the hustle and bustle of getting out the TV trays and choosing a Disney movie. That's what we do on Friday nights. I find that to be a glimmer in life. It's a fun, little, easy ritual that brings so much joy. So pick a glimmer ritual for yourself. It can be so simple, so small, but just something that happens on a weekly basis that you get to look forward to. We want to make sure it's planned on a specific day and time. That's what makes the anticipation real. Keep it simple enough that you're not going to cancel it, right? Don't try to make this so big that you're like, every Saturday afternoon, our family is going to go on an hour-long bike ride together. That's not a glimmer. That's a lot. That's fun. It's not a glimmer. And just let it become the sacred part of your weekly life. Okay, a second idea is a future trip, but it doesn't have to be some big vacation. Just even something small, a weekend getaway, a little day trip, any sort of trip is a wonderful thing to look forward to. Travel, of course, is one of the strongest anticipation generators, and planning something for travel, of course, extends that anticipation. For me, I actually have an annual trip every year that I get to anticipate. It's my Pearls retreat. I think I've mentioned it here on the podcast before, where I was in an a cappella group in college where there were 15 of us girls that sang songs with no music. It was amazing. If you've seen Pitch Perfect, it's exactly like that. And we are now on our 19th year of getting together for Pearls retreats. We did them when we were in college, and then we just never stopped. That retreat brings me joy year round, year after year, because it's amazing when it's happening. And then I am constantly looking forward to the next one to see my girls. It's just the best thing ever. So that's a bigger example of a trip that you can anticipate, and especially that one is so cyclical, it makes it easy to anticipate. But it can also be something like, we're going to go explore downtown Williamsburg this weekend. We're going to go explore a new beach on Sunday, right? But planning it ahead of time, not just spontaneously in the moment saying, we're going to go. That's great. Of course, like do fun things in your life, but purposefully anticipate and decide that you're going to go on a little trip ahead of time to give yourself that anticipatory joy that we're talking about today. Okay, the third thing we can do is make lists of things that we are excited to watch and read. This is a super simple one, but it is so fun. I think this is why I love the Goodreads app so much. I have a love-hate relationship with the Goodreads app because I also think that we get way too caught up in gamifying our lives and trying to read fast just to get to the next thing and reach a certain goal number. And like, that's not the point of reading or doing anything in our lives. So I do have that little bit of an issue there, but I love using their to be read list because, as you guys know, I don't want a giant pile of books that I spent a bunch of money on that then like I lose interest because I see another book I would rather read. I think that happens a lot with readers. You overbuy books and you never read them because we just can't possibly read all these amazing books in the world. It's just, we don't have the time. So I prefer to keep mine in a written list so that I can go to the library and use my list to get something and not have the guilt of spending a bajillion dollars on books. But it is so fun to keep track of things I want to read. It's also fun to keep track of movies you want to see. It's creating the sense of anticipation of what I get to read down the line. So do that. Whatever it is you like to do, whether it is go to concerts or attend truck. I don't know. My friend here, she is a, what is it? They're not a Range Rover. I'm so bad at cars. She's going to be so embarrassed for me if she listens to this. Broncos? Now I have to Google that and make sure that's the right car. I'm so sorry, Megan. Yeah, I think that's right. Yes. Yep. Anyways, she loves to go to these Bronco off-roading events, right? Anything you like to do, not only plan to go, but make a list of what's coming up, of what it is you could possibly go to, what it is you could possibly read, what it is you could possibly watch. That's such an easy way to create anticipatory joy in your life. Number 4 is a seasonal tradition. Of course, there are holidays, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, but I'm talking about something you do specifically for each season. So every summer, our family does one big picnic day at the beach. I mean, maybe your family does picnic days at the beach all the time, right? This is going to be different for different people, but every fall, we choose a day to go on a hike. I'm really like in my outside feels right now. For us, this kind of revolves around Christmas, but it's also a winter tradition, is that every winter, on the first night of winter break for our kids that are home from school, and the next day is the first day of winter break, we do a family sleepover in the living room. So that's a tradition, and it's so much fun. We get the air mattresses out and we turn on a movie. Usually it's the Polar Express. I don't know if that'll change as they get older. And we all have a big family sleepover in the living room. Traditions don't just have to revolve around holidays. They can revolve around specific seasons too. This creates nostalgia, and it makes us look forward to each different season. I know right now a tradition for a lot of my friends on the East Coast is to go walk the cherry blossoms when those blossom. Like that, it's just fun. So that's a great way to create anticipatory joy. Number 5 is a planned social moment. This one is simple, and most of us do it or have done it in the past, but actually follow through making plans with people you want to see or having a phone call with someone you want to talk to. Social joy is so good for us, and it is amplified by the anticipation of going. For some people, for me, sometimes I dread it and then I really enjoy it once I'm there. But if you're the kind of person who likes to socialize, this anticipation will be better for you. For someone like me, I just have to make myself go, and then I'm always so glad that I did. But it is important that we actually follow through and do it. Put it on the calendar, text your friend, get the coffee date out of the text, just go over and watch a show together, go out to drinks. Like this Friday night, I was invited to a girls' night. I know that I want to go, but I also really don't want to go because of who I am. Like, I don't want to, but I know I'm going to have so much fun when I go. So this one's kind of like wonky depending on your personality, but we can look forward to those planned social moments. Number 6, plan a personal project that you care about. This can be decluttering. I think this is such a great way to anticipate joy, to have hope for our future, to live in a house that does not stress us out. I look forward to decluttering projects. I'm like, yes, this weekend we are going to tackle the basement because we're moving to Finland, and I love my husband, but I am not putting all of this stuff in long-term storage for 3 years while we live in Finland so that it hangs over my head and then I have to deal with it when we move back to the United States. Clearly that was on my chest to say out loud. He knows though, it's fine. But I really look forward to it. We can look forward to cleaning out our closets or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to go on a whole decluttering spiel because that's what Tuesday episodes are mostly for, but that can be a fun project. But it can also be a project like knitting a scarf. It can be a project like making the cutest crafty thank yous for the teachers at your kids' school. It can be training for a marathon. Really anything that is a project that you care about. It gives you something to return to and to look forward to, not only for the final outcome, but just the act of working towards something that is important to you. I think a big way to make sure that we stick to a project like that is to schedule the next session before you finish the last one. So let's say you're working on knitting a scarf. Make sure that you say, okay, I can't wait on Friday night after I get home from work. I'm not doing anything else. I am getting back at this scarf, right? So we don't let these projects fall by the wayside. We can anticipate the next time we're diving back in and be excited about it. Okay, number 7 is a small daily treat. So some of these we're anticipating for weeks to come, for years to come, if we're looking at a seasonal thing, right? These are way ahead of us. But we can also have little moments in our everyday life that we anticipate. I really look forward to having my chai latte in the morning. I know a lot of people really look forward to their coffee in the morning. That's great. That is an anticipatory moment of joy that you can do every single day. Maybe you make your bed in the morning because you really anticipate coming back to a nicely made bed at night and climbing under the crisp sheets that are just waiting there for you. I cannot relate because you guys know I don't make my bed. I am an embarrassment to humankind, but it's fine. Not really. If you don't make your bed, clearly I'm not one to judge. We are not actually embarrassments. We're just a little different, and that's cool too. Maybe you work out 5 days a week. That's a daily treat for yourself. Maybe you allow yourself to sit in the driveway for 15 minutes every day when you get home from work, if that's possible with kids and whatever. Any sort of thing that you build into your day that you look forward to. That's important. Pick that out and say, yes, this is something that I am not just going to do when I can sometimes, if it feels right, if it's convenient. Actually build it into your days and say, no, this is an important part of my day so that I can look forward to it every single day. The 8th thing we can do is anticipate meaningful milestones. I'm actually really bad at this. I feel like this would be a way I could create way more joy in my life is I kind of gloss over my birthday, even my husband's birthday. I mean, I celebrate him and I'm all of that, but like, I'm not good at planning parties. I don't really care about having a party for myself. I'm not good at celebrating, I guess is the best way of putting it. Like when I got my book deal, everyone was like, did you go out to dinner? Or when I finished my manuscript, everyone's like, did you celebrate? And I'm just like, I just don't really. But we should think ahead of time. Once we accomplish something, it's a milestone, a birthday, anything like that. How do we celebrate? Celebrations are something to anticipate. So like I said, it's something I'm working on in my life. Look forward to getting there, look forward to celebrating, and get that emotional payoff of the anticipation. Okay, number 9, anticipate a nothing planned block of time. Just like you plan an outing out with your friends or you plan a trip, right? Anticipation, these are things we're intentionally planning, but I think we should plan to not have plans. I look forward to this one more than anything. People are like, how do you not burn out with all that you do? And I'm like, because I look forward to every single night basically stopping at 4 or 5 p.m. and I'm donezo. I don't look at my email. I don't wanna. No, thank you. Or there are some mornings that I just block out 45 minutes and it's to do nothing. That doesn't happen very often, but I do look forward to those when I do. Protect that off time like it is an event. Literally block it off on your calendar. We need to do that more often. And the 10th way we can create more anticipatory joy in our lives is to not consume everything immediately. Delayed gratification, people. It gives us something to look forward to. Whether it's the marshmallow test that's very famous, where it predicts, if a kindergartner how long they wait before they eat the marshmallow in front of them predicts how happy they will be later in life. Cool. But as adults too, we got to give ourselves that gap between what we want and actually doing it in order to get the anticipation. So maybe don't watch an entire series in one sitting. I know binge watching is so fun. Some people think it's fun. I'm not a big binge watcher. I like to just watch one episode or half an episode at a time, mostly because I'm always tired and I can't stay awake. But, I think saving things is a good thing. We live in a world where we want instant everything. But not only does pausing save us from buying things we don't actually want or love or need and stopping us from saying yes to things that we don't actually want to do, like that is a good thing too. But sometimes pausing gives us the time to be excited about whatever it is we want to consume or do. A way that I'm able to stop myself from watching or doing something that I want to do right away is saving it for doing it with someone else, specifically my husband. Like, I would never dream of watching Paradise without him. He is out of town as I speak, and I want to see the next episode of Paradise, but I'm not going to watch it until he gets home. And that's actually fun because now I'm really anticipating watching it. I can't wait. So if you want to stop yourself from consuming everything at once, like even the piece of cake, say, I'm going to eat half of it now, and then I'm going to eat half of it tonight and share it with my husband, right? We can, wait to do it with somebody else, I think is like a helpful way to increase our patience, but also increase our anticipation. I hope this was a fun one to think about and you got some ideas for your own life of how to create that anticipatory joy, because joy doesn't just come from what is happening in the moment or what's happening around us. It comes from what we're looking forward to. And this is all a big part of designing our lives well, of living intentionally to sprinkle our lives with things that pull us forward and give us hope for the future and make us happy to be alive. I'm so grateful that you tuned in today. And don't forget to listen to tomorrow's mini episode, the little chai chat, where I answer a listener question about decluttering, a listener question about my own life. I share a listener decluttering win, a listener recommendation, and then I close with some final thoughts. And then, of course, make sure you tune in to next week's Good Stuff episode with Libby Ward of Diary of an Honest Mom. I'll see you then. You just listened to an episode of Paring Down with me, Shannon Leyko. Please don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and I will love you forever and ever if you leave a 5-star review, because those reviews are so helpful on the back end of things. And for more resources about decluttering and intentional living, sign up for my short weekly newsletter, The Less Express, which you can find in the show notes, and follow along on social media. Just look me up. I'm Shannon Leyko, Leyko. Thank you so much for listening.